All right, we're back in it. Back here for
Envision.
Another podcast here at Envision Festival in Costa Rica. It's another beautiful day, another very sunny day filled with green trees and lots of interesting people doing lots of interesting things.
Out in the jungle.
It's day 6 now, and we've had a lot of really cool, interesting conversations while we've been here. Jackson and I have just been reflecting and speaking every single day about what's going on, about our thoughts on all of the businesses and the brands here and the people, and just how things are being approached at this festival, because it's marketed as a very conscious, awake, intentional festival, but I don't know, we've kind of noticed some things that don't necessarily align, so it's just been very interesting to be a part of that.
Well, I think it's just interesting to feel the question that we're asking with this podcast, which is how to be an intentional creator.
Yeah. Well, this episode specifically is how to find your why for your brand or business or creativity or whatever you want to.
And the why keeps coming up because we've recognized in our own journeys how we got lost in the algorithmic TikTok short form, or whatever content was alive when we were doing it, but chasing down views, chasing down, things coming, like views coming to us and shares coming to us and all that sort of
money.
stuff. And there wasn't a lot of why behind it. There wasn't a lot of intention behind it. And so we've really been in this process of like navigating, okay, how do you balance your, this is the whole point of the podcast. And so now how do you balance that creativity and the work? And so it's funny because now we're seeing it in other places. We're like, oh wow, the why is actually not clear.
Yeah. For a lot of people.
Isn't as clear as it should be for a lot of, not should be, but isn't as clear as it could be for a lot of people.
Yeah. And it could be so much more powerful if that why was there.
If the why, yeah.
Yeah. So for example, we went to a talk with the people that are doing the after movie for the festival, and Jackson asked them like, what is the intention behind the film they're creating? And they didn't really have one. They were kind of just like, we're getting the best shots that we can and letting the shots speak for themselves, which yes is a powerful message, and like of course the shots speak for themselves. There's really cool things going on here, but it's just like,
and they did say nature and connection, which is valid, but it was pretty broad.
I feel like this festival is so close to getting to that next level, but then like the film is just, it's like a Sam Calder video where it's just a bunch of cool shots and like a travel video and like, look how cool we are, look how cool this place is, come here, come spend your money, come join this festival. And like, yes, there's good things happening here, but there's like not necessarily a story being told through the media, and we feel that's really lacking. Because there's not a clear intention.
Right, and again, we're in this process. We're in this conversation with ourselves as artists, trying to find the reason behind all of it. Right, there's something behind Instagram. There's something behind Facebook. There's something behind all these platforms that we produce things on. And that reason is from the self. Like there's something that wants to be expressed, that wants to be shared. That's what art is. That's what creativity is. That's what creation is. Yeah. And so we keep navigating this conversation, and definitely seeing the spaces in the collective field where there's not as much awareness around why we're telling the stories we're telling. Are we telling them because they have some sort of underlying point? It's like what a parable is. There's something being said underneath it. Or are we just doing it for clickbait and vibes, and money, it's going to look great, business. Which is all great and fine. Like all of that's awesome, to an extent. It doesn't have the never-ending journey of exploration into yourself, really deepening into your own voice and what wants to come out of you, what wants to come through you as you grow and as you evolve. Yeah. And so we've been really focusing on this question, like what is the why? How do you find your why?
And so I think why we've come to focus on business and branding and all that kind of stuff is because there's a lot of workshops and talks going on. One specifically that we're both very interested in, and we're passionate about the work that's been done. So there's an organization called Sacred Sons. I guess you could call them a business more than an organization, because they host workshops and they do charge a lot of money. It is expensive. And we've gone to a couple of their workshops here at the festival, and they're doing great work, but they really lack the clarity and the communication as to why they're doing what they do. And I'm sure they know why they're doing what they do, but they don't really communicate that to their workshops. They don't tell you why they're doing specific exercises, specific activities, and I feel like it kind of gets lost in the tribalness of it, lost in the emotion of it, and the information, the why, the intention gets lost in that.
Yeah,
and
like,
so
why are we doing these practices? What are they for?
I felt like I was in those situations and I didn't know why I was doing it. I was just doing it, and so then that becomes dangerous because you're following something, doing something without knowing the reason, and that's where manipulation can happen.
And just
that's
just
where
like
people can take advantage of you,
and just a lack of underlying intention.
Yeah.
Intention with the space, like what is it really there for? And I know that Sacred Sons at the end of the day is there for the masculinity in our timeline, the masculine to come alive, the masculine to be active.
They never communicated that in their workshops. They never really said that, and like it's as simple as that. And I think when you have customers or followers or whatever, if you're a business, a brand, a creator, an influencer, whatever it is, if you communicate your why and your story, people are going to be so much more attracted to you and your journey and your message. If you don't do that, if you're just posting, if I'm just posting cool pictures of me in nature without communicating my why, sure, it's cool and it looks good, I get a lot of likes, followers, whatever. But as soon as I say, oh, this is actually about reconnecting humans with nature because all of our problems stem from our disconnection of nature, then people are like, oh, okay, now I know why you're in those spaces, why you're taking those pictures,
and I can get behind
why
it.
it affects me. And they're so much more loyal to supporting you and your journey and your story.
Because all of a sudden it's not about you anymore.
Yeah.
Actually. It's about them and their connection to the story and the message that you're sharing.
It's not about you. That's the biggest thing.
It's actually not about you.
Yeah.
You need to connect them to that point within themselves where they can recognize that they actually have the answers and they can find that internally within their own systems.
And I hope that that's what we're doing with this podcast. And to anyone listening right now, we've really started this thing. It's just not even like Dean and Jackson. It's the intentional creator. It's like it's not about us, and that feels really cool and really powerful to be a part of. And we're trying to give away as much information and experience and knowledge as we can without gatekeeping things. And I think that's where a lot of businesses struggle as well. Is like, where's the line between like Sacred Sons, for example, between gatekeeping information and having a paywall between that,
right?
And just giving out the information because it's going to help the world.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's a tough line to walk for sure.
Well, and I think that
what do you think?
There's such a deep need for the why in all aspects of our life. Yeah. There's that's such a deep integral, like, why are you going to do what you're doing? Are you reacting to something?
Why are you making the decisions you make?
Yeah, and again, me asking me these questions, like, why am I going to do the things I'm doing? Why am I needing to go to that vice or needing to go to that and chase that down, like, and tuning into that in my system and like learning how to like check myself when I'm like, whoa, I'm actually reacting to something that happened earlier in the day and I didn't whatever. And now I'm going off to do this thing because it's a reaction out of that. And so finding that why and getting clear on where you're coming from and having a foundation. It's really a foundation as to where you're launching from every day, every moment, and not to say that obviously like things move, things evolve, things flow.
Yeah.
But finding and beginning that process of getting clear on the why, which is kind of what's happening for me right now. Like, I'm really deep in this process of like navigating. I've been in this process for the past few years, but like where is this gonna land? Like what is the essence of what I'm trying to say? And finding that why has become more and more and more of a focus of mine.
And that's a difficult journey, and I think that's what this podcast is. I can give some kind of practical advice on how to get there. So for me, when I was kind of going through my awakening to life and everything and my creativity, I came up with this concept. I'm sure it exists in another form and somebody's spoken about it somewhere, but I called it the steps of why. So whatever you're doing, whatever you want to do, ask yourself why. get that clear, go to the next level, ask yourself why again, and why again, and why again, until you get to a point where you really get to the depths of why you're doing something. Don't stop at the first level. Keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's the message you need to communicate. That's the core of your business, of your life, of everything. It's
the core of your brand. Because what a brand is a message. It's not actually some sort of cool, vibey thing.
Or it's a solution to the global problem.
The brand is a message. It's a solution. It's a new way of thinking about something. It's something that's coming out of you that you're like, wow, I'm expressing this kind of new engagement with this thought that we as humans have been playing with. So, you know, finding that why and going into those questions is going to help you get clear on what your brand needs to look like. What are you actually trying to say? And really, it's just, you know, you're doing internal work with that. You're really trying to figure out, like, what am I expressing here? Like, what's coming through me? And like, again, for me, this has been a journey that I've been on for the past 3 or 4 years, and it's taken time to, like, navigate through my own life, my own lifestyles, my own journey with where I'm at, and move into a place of being able to understand where and what my inspiration is coming from and why it's coming from those places. And again, I think it's just, as creators, that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to just get clicks on Instagram. We're not trying to just post, and we're not trying to just, you know, get the rah-rah from the attention stream that we all have with our phones now. Behind that is the creator of just like, yo, I'm just creating this beautiful art piece, whatever that might be. Painting, jewelry, craftsmanship, yoga, photo, whatever. Like, you're creating something through yourself, and that's where and what you want to root your brand in, is that creative life force that's coming out of you.
Yeah. There's a book that I read. I think I mentioned it on the podcast before at one point, but I can go into it a little bit more. One of the best books I've read for business and brand, it's called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And he kind of draws this, so I'll try my best to break it down, but definitely get the book if you haven't read it before. So he draws these concentric circles, and there's 3 levels. The first inner circle is the why. The next one is how, and the last one is what. Most people start with what they want to do for their brand. They want to rent surfboards. And that's their dream, but they don't go deeper than that. And so they start their surfboard company, they start renting it. And I mean, that's probably a bad example, because how can you not like renting surfboards? That's a fun job. But like, say you want to start a bar because you like drinking, or you like being in bar environments, and you start selling alcohol, and that's your what. And you do it for a couple of years, and you get so burnt out because you have no reason, no purpose for doing it, and it just becomes a chore, it becomes a hassle. I mean, even, I guess I can use my own story, for example. Like, started doing the Lightroom tutorials, and I didn't necessarily have a why for doing it. I knew what I was doing. I was making Lightroom tutorials because it got a lot of clicks and views and attention. And
same for vlogging for me.
So I guess I knew the how as well. So what I was doing was making Lightroom tutorials. Next level, how I was doing it. I was just screen recording and recording myself in my room, so that was pretty easy. But I didn't have that core why center.
The root.
Yeah, and so Simon Sinek kind of flips this on its head, where he says, start with why. Start with the middle as to why you're doing it, then go into how you're going to do it, and then go into what you do. So now for me, starting with why, my why is I want to help people reconnect with nature. Okay, cool. That's my why. Now I go into how I'm going to do that. The best way to do that for me is through media, through social media, through photo, film, illustration, music, whatever, my expression of creativity in media. And then what I'm doing is putting that out there on the social media platforms to the world. But it all goes back to the why, and I know I'm very solid and secure and grounded in that why. So now it actually doesn't even matter what I do, whether it's
or
photo or illustration or video or music. It all has the same message. And like, even on my Instagram, I can post a really cool cinematic, beautiful video, like ambient, silent videos of the leaves blowing in the wind, or I can be talking to the camera straight up.
Yeah.
But because I have the same why, it all aligns. Whereas if I didn't have that, it would just be all over the place.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
you sync up with that motivation. And I think that's like such a key part of creativity.
and that keeps you going as well.
Exactly. You're all of a sudden now you're an endless source. You're an endless source of creativity. You're an endless source of like your own insight and like, oh, what if I tried it like this? What if I tried it like that? Because you are not motivating yourself anymore. The why is.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not about you.
It's not about you anymore.
Yeah.
It's actually about what you're presenting.
Yeah.
The story that you're engaging with and the thought processes that you're like coming into contact with.
I think as soon as you can realize that it's not about you,
Yeah.
that's when some magic really starts to happen. And like, sure, it is still about you. Like, it's your journey, it's your life, it's your thing. But
you're just a vessel, though.
you are. That's an artist. The artist is the messenger.
Right.
The artist sees the future, sees the vision, sees the why, and is the vessel for bringing that to people that don't see it yet.
Yep.
And not even necessarily an artist, but the brand, the business, the solution to the global problems that we're having. Be that vessel by having the why, but you got to get that why first.
Yep. And it's like engage with that concept. It's again not something that may necessarily happen overnight. It's a different way of thinking. It's not something that we are in society are collectively trained to think at.
Yeah. I mean, it took me 8 years to get to the point of 8 years of creating to get to the point of where I'm really clear on my why.
Yeah.
And like looking back, I can see that I had a similar why. It just wasn't clear.
Yep.
So it's gonna take time. Like don't think you're gonna figure it out in a night, but you do have to put in that work to be with yourself, to figure out what you want to see in this world. What difference do you want to make?
And what story do you want to tell? Because the other funny thing about this is the fact that like everybody wants 100,000 followers. Everybody wants 1 million followers. Everybody wants the brand deals. Everybody wants all this big rah rah rah. But at the end of the day, you are the only person that can do what you do. There's nothing that compete.
I really resonate with y'all talking about that. You mind if I sip?
Yeah, go for it.
What's up?
Definitely.
We're doing a podcast.
I'm so sorry. I apologize.
No,
I wasn't paying attention.
You can sit if you want to.
You want to come in?
Yeah, I'm listening and I'm talking, and all the stuff you're talking about, I've been talking to people about this all.
Yeah, join in.
What up? Come on
My
in,
name
baby.
is Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
I lost my voice because I've been screaming all day. I've been touring on this thing. This right here.
People are focused on the millions of followers and like all the big shiny, attention that you can get, and it's really not about the attention. It's about who you are. Like that's where your root should be in. It's like what do you have to say?
Yeah.
What do you have to bring to the table? What do you have to like show up with? Like what magic can you create and hone that shit? Like there's no competition actually because you were the only person that
It's
can
all
show
you.
up.
Like no one can copy what you're doing. No one can be who you are.
Right.
No one can be the brand that you are, like the business you create, the solutions you have, because you're the only one that's able to see that vision and be that vessel. Like sure, you can try and emulate other people or other brands or other businesses, but at the end of the day, like you said, there's no competition because no one can be who you are.
Right. And bring that spark, bring that life, bring that juice to it.
Yeah. So maybe let's get into why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Maybe even if you want to start from a personal point of view, just so those listening can have a context onto like
I love that. Yeah.
Personally, why we do what we do, but then also with the podcast as well, we can get into that.
For me now, it's really sharing a different way of being. There's so much media going on. There's so much crazy negative energy happening in the world, and all that's real and all that's valid. But there's not as much coverage. Nobody's putting money into the direction that other parts of humanity are going into, which is into a place of more cohesion, more balance, more heart integration, more emotional stability, more understanding of the body, more understanding of nature, more integration with we live on Earth and how can we take care of it and how can we take care of her. There's a movement in that direction. There's a massive shift happening all over the planet right now into that direction. And so as a content creator, as a photographer, I really feel like I've got an opportunity to show up and help share that. Like I can help be a media outlet for that message, because there's people who are doing it, obviously, all over the place, but how can I just continue to add to that stream? How can I continue to just drop another thing that's somebody will swipe on Instagram and see something that I'll say, and they'll be like, whoa, that's kind of interesting. Like, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
It hits everybody different, you know? So how can I just become, to my crew, to my outlets, some of the people who I'm around, another like ear in their awareness of what they're up to, what they're thinking about, how are you tuning into the body, are you navigating how to balance the emotional system, stabilize your water, stabilize your earth, get grounded,
So I guess my next question for you is, why do you choose photo and video? But you mostly photo.
Yeah.
Why photo?
Photo is it's just easy for me.
Yeah.
I love
it comes to you naturally.
It comes to me so naturally now, and it's so fun to capture people's moments. And street photography has always been my favorite way of photographing, just going and capturing people in their element and just doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And especially in a place like this, it's amazing to do that. It's just street photography for white people, and it's a blast, and I just love that.
So maybe talk about how that links to your why.
And so and so in the sense of like being in a space like this, or being in festivals, or being in being in a lot of the spaces that I find myself in, Sacred Sons, I've shot for them a bunch of times. The why is rooted in the point of like helping to share that message, helping to share that mission. This is a different way of being that we're not seeing from media, that we're not seeing from other outlets of absorption from social media, whatever.
Yeah.
And how can I add to that stream and make this environment, this kind of energy, a heavier weight in the direction where we're moving as a species. And yeah, that'd be the why for me, as like a creator, showing up in that way and showing up to help share the message of the new earth, of moving into a higher timeline. And
then maybe speak to the kind of videos you're making on Instagram at the moment, or on TikTok, where it's more raw why do you choose to do it in that way instead of producing more like high quality? Like, you use your phone a lot.
That's just because I'm a broke bitch. I mean,
no, but you do have a camera, but you choose to use your phone in a very intentional way.
I do. I do really choose. I really am intentional about finding flow with my creativity. I'm shooting so much stuff. For the past year, I've shot like the most content I've ever shot in my life. And there's just so much I feel like I have backlogged and cataloged and da-da-da-da. And so I'm also working a plethora of jobs to make money right now. I'm not making money through filmmaking or photography full time right now. So I'm having to hustle like in the restaurant world or landscaping or whatever to make the bag.
Yeah.
And I don't have the ability to just be sitting and editing all day necessarily. So again, staying centered in that why helps me find ways to create through that. So in the sense of like, there's a lot of chaos in my life right now, in the sense of like, it's not grounded in maybe my creativity necessarily, but I can stay grounded in the why of what I'm trying to share, what I'm trying to show up as, what I'm trying to express in my story. Yeah. And so I do breath work on my TikTok. I run an account where I post a pastor that I really find captivating to the message that Jesus was sharing. It's on TikTok. And so I'm using these social media platforms to help kind of spread out how my mind is thinking about how I'm creating content. I can be a vessel. I can just help share information from other people, share information or insight or wisdom from other sources, but I can be the editor. I can be the guy who's taking it through and putting it out there onto social media.
I also think with your why, even you doing the odd jobs in random different industries helps you. It gives a reason for being. Like the landscaping, for example. Like that's connecting to nature. That's getting grounded. That's working with your hands, using your body. And
it's so my earth element.
It's not just, I have to go fucking work today and make money. It's like, no, I'm actually learning about the earth and connecting
and
with
how
nature.
To take care of plants.
So then even when you take a video of you landscaping, it has intention and purpose behind it.
Right, and there's something that's motivated behind that creation and behind how I'm creating that content for it, because it's not just me being like, haha, look at me at Bali. I'm like, I'm just fucking weeding today.
Yeah, exactly.
But, sorry for the language. we haven't talked about that yet. We could leave it out. So, yeah, like there's that intention, that why is there in the sense of why I'm showing up and doing it, what I'm engaged in, and I can stay rooted in that, and I don't get lost in my ego. That's a big thing for all of us, I feel like. But for me, like I don't get lost in my head about I'm not doing the cool stuff. I'm not doing like that.
This doesn't look perfect.
It's not. Yeah. It's man, that shot didn't like turn out as perfectly. It's like whatever. Yeah. You got what you got. Like don't worry.
I think also social media, specifically Instagram, TikTok, like all the shorter form content. No one's gonna see that in a day or two. Right. It's gone. So put less pressure on yourself if you are creating for these platforms to. Don't worry about being perfect. Just express yourself and put your message out there. No one cares really at the end of the day. I mean,
but it's really about
people care, but it's gonna get lost. So don't stress about making it perfect.
Focus more on hitting the right people, reaching the right people. Don't worry about reaching everyone. Reach the right people, because once you reach the right people can. Like how easy it is. I don't even know either of you two's names, but I'm pretty sure if I see you on TikTok and Instagram, I'll be like, oh,
what's up?
Wow, dude, that's the guys, you know? For sure.
It's like the, I don't know who said this, but there's this idea that there's a marble block and the statue's in the block. But you got to carve away at it. You got to chip at it. You got to work it. You got to move the stone. You got to navigate the stone. You got to carve out the legs. You got to carve out the form. And I really do feel like my content creation now is very much grounded in that. I really don't care who's watching or what they think or what's going on in their minds about what I'm posting. Yeah. It's literally just me kind of navigating and learning what I'm trying to say, navigating and learning my why.
Yeah.
An ever happening process.
I think there is also something to be said about presenting yourself as professional as well. Like, not to say that you can't express yourself and...
He's calling me out.
No,
I hear you.
Like,
totally.
I think when you are trying to, it's a balance. It's always a balance.
And it's a balance for you uniquely in your artistic journey.
Yeah. When you are trying to attract people to work with, attract people into your space,
do need to have that
attract professional businesses and brands to work with, it is important to have that sense of professionalism in your work. And like, again, I think if you're rooted in your why and you know why you're doing it, what you're doing, then you will attract those brands and will have that sense of quality and pride for your work.
Yeah.
So it's not to say that like don't care about what you're doing at all. Obviously care about it.
Yes.
Like put your love and effort and work into it.
And I'm honing that professionalism out in a lot of ways too for me right now. Like I've been very like just like throwing paint at the wall in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and actually there's a guy that I listen to his podcast, Andy J. Pizza, also has a creative podcast.
Oh, nice.
One of the biggest on Spotify, I think, called Creative Pep Talk. And one of his things, like his steps to finding creativity is throw spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Like just try a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Just have fun with it, play around.
Yeah.
Be a kid that's throwing spaghetti at the wall.
100%.
Find the thing that sticks and works for you, the thing that resonates with people.
100%.
And build from there, go from there.
And then hone that, really hone that out. You got your marble block now and, create the statue, create the form that is within it.
Yeah. Should we speak about...
Well, what's your why?
Okay, yeah, I guess I can do that first before we get into the podcast.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I love it.
My why. So
Should we start another timer?
Yeah, the timer's still going.
Okay.
Gotta keep track of that. So my why, I've only really truly figured out in the past year, I would say, after 8, 9, 10 years of doing what I'm doing.
Right.
And it's so funny because I look back at my work now and the first videos I was making was my why. That's when I started with
that's funny.
No incentive, no money, no followers, no nothing.
Yeah.
I was doing exactly what I want to be doing now, but except I'm much more clear and focused on it. And at the end of the day, it's just inspiring and teaching and helping people reconnect to nature, because I believe at the end of the day that all of the problems we face is because of our disconnection to nature, because we don't see ourselves as nature.
Yeah.
We don't identify with it, and I think if we start teaching people that they are nature, that everything is connected, that what we do affects the planet, affects our neighbors, affects other countries, the oceans, everything.
Yeah,
we'll have so much more care for everything we do, including ourselves.
Yeah.
And so my goal is to teach people and help people reconnect with nature, because in doing that, that is the healing of our planet. Because if you can teach people to care for something, they won't destroy it.
Yeah. Wow.
Including yourself.
Right. No, so yeah.
That's my why. That's my
t-shirt.
mission. And so all of my work at the moment is reflecting that. And like I said earlier, now that I have that why of reconnecting people with nature and helping them remember their connection to nature, because we came from nature, we are nature. I can do whatever I want in terms of photo, video, illustration, music.
Yes.
Presented however I want, but it's coming back to that why. And so now it's fun to experiment with different art forms. Whereas before, I've always felt called to do many different art forms, but I always felt very pulled apart, going in lots of different directions. And I was like, oh, I like drawing, I like illustrating, I like making music, but I'm like, how does this all fit together? What am I doing?
Yeah,
I feel like
the puzzle's not clicking.
I was like, I just feel like I'm a jack of all trades, and I'd say I'm a master at video and photo, but like, part of me wished that I was only good at one thing, so that I could just do that thing and be really good at it. But now I see how much of a strength it is to be good at a whole lot of different things, because it helps my creativity and uniqueness. And so
it keeps it alive. It keeps the creativity alive.
Exactly. And so now I'm able to do all these things and bring it back to my why.
Right.
And that feels so amazing and so powerful. And now I'm not even like looking to necessarily emulate or copy other people or be in somebody else's shoes. I still get inspired by people, obviously. Like, I want to achieve things and
grow and get better.
But before, I was... Cool, so we just had a bit of a technical issue. My card was full. So basically, it only missed a couple minutes, but I was saying how I dropped in a quote that you can't consume your way to fulfillment. It can only be created. And that's pretty much where I'm at, where I'm not trying to copy anybody else anymore. I really feel secure in my own why, my own reason for doing things. And so there's, like we said earlier, there's not any competition. I'm not competing with anyone. It's all building towards the same message. And now even the people that I do resonate with, the people that I'm inspired by, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. We're all 100%. Together on the same mission. And so I'm not trying to be better than you, because if you're performing well and you have the same why as me, that's awesome, because it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about getting to the same point in humanity.
You're riding the same wave. Yeah, which is cool, because I think that's definitely how we've sunk up in a lot of ways. Like in our friendship and over the years of just like kind of settling in on this underlying why. You know, not you were living in South Africa, like we were all over the place. You know what I mean? And so like that why kind of kept us rooted in and in touch with each other. So let's get clear on the why of the podcast. Like why are we having this conversation? Where why are we having this conversation?
I guess to start it off, because we recognized we were having a lot of these conversations just on the phone.
Just chatting.
Like for months at a time, we would have phone calls like once a week, once every 2 weeks, and we'd always get into these really deep conversations about creativity and about social media. And we were like, man, we really need to make a podcast about this, because the conversations that we're having are so important and so needed. And we've recognized that there's a space, there's a need for this. So many people are starting to realize that this isn't being talked about, and so we created this podcast
and pushing that conversation forward into the next generational context. Like, don't get lost in the whole Jay Alvarez thing. Don't get lost in the whole Sam Colder. Not to say that can't be there and that can't be a vibe.
Well, they might have their whys as well.
They might,
which they might be very clear on that, and that's maybe why they perform so well, because they had their why. They were clear about it.
True.
They were like, I want to be a travel influencer and be the biggest Instagram guy in the world. And they got that because they were clear on their why. So what would the why for this podcast be for you? Why are we doing this? It's a big question. It's difficult to answer, but it's necessary.
Yeah, exactly. I think for me, it's, again, just starting the conversation. For me right now is the why. I think that there's a deeper why underlying that I don't necessarily know yet. Like I don't have clarity on that yet, but like the conversation is so helpful to like deepen into that why and deepen into that intention behind it all. But as of right now, it's just like, whoa, we've kind of tuned into this different stream of creativity. Let's just go full steam ahead down that, you know, and figure out what's here, figure out what wants to be heard, what wants to be talked about, what wants to be explored in the people around us.
I also think we debated the name for quite a while. We weren't really sure what we were going to call this podcast, but I think the more and more episodes we do, it actually is perfect.
It continues to sync it
that
up.
Contains the why. It's helping people to create lives, artwork, businesses, brands intentionally.
Yep.
I feel like that's the why. That's it.
That is the why. Yeah.
And having the conversations around that, facilitating that, and hopefully opening people's minds up to creating more impactful, more sustainable, more better businesses.
And I think using content as a way to inspire, not to sell. You know, we're being sold so much. We're being sold so much information and stories and all this sort of stuff, and checking that in your awareness, check that in your mind. Wait. I don't want to be selling to anybody.
I also think when you have your why and your message and you're giving out information for free endlessly, people want to give back to you. People want to
100%.
buy into your courses, buy into
100%.
your things without you trying to sell it.
You don't have to sell it.
Like if
you're just doing your thing.
If we keep doing that, like, you build respect and appreciation for putting everything out there for free.
Right.
And then hopefully someday people will want to pay us for like consultations or courses or workshops
and reciprocate
or whatever.
But that's not the motivating factor.
That's not
at all like where we're coming from in the sense of starting it. Again, it's just been because we were having these conversations already. We were like, we should just get more people involved.
Yeah.
And let's just like see if this is a nerve. And the more and more we talk this conversation, I was having a conversation with a guy last night. We got into the same kind of dynamic, same conversation.
Yeah. You get a million people who doesn't care what you're posting and just double taps regardless. You just broke the algorithm.
Yeah.
Right there. It's 1 million likes, 1 million comments. You can message in a group chat, be like, hey, I want the video to go up. Because after 1 million, it hits the algorithm. That's cheat code.
And it'll go. Yeah,
dude.
100%.
Like,
it's slick. It's crazy. And it's, using social media as a tool. Using it as a tool to share information. Mm-hmm. To share information. I'm not trying to sell information.
Yeah.
The selling may or whatever. It's like sharing it. Let's just get a conversation going. We're all part of the same network. It's like you're saying about nature. We're all part of the same network. We're all here on planet Earth, no matter where you are, what you're going, whatever's going on in your field. There's so much craziness going on all over the place. But I feel like that's just shedding more light over the fact that we're all part of the same network. And so how can we use that network idea to help connect us into more of a resonance around creativity that's beneficial for our experiences, our lives, our hearts, our internal space versus just beneficial for the bank account or the clout.
Yeah, because as soon as money and power becomes involved, that's when
distracting.
corruption happens. It happens throughout history.
Yep.
So, I think we're good on this.
Yeah, I feel good
happy
about that.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Check us out on Instagram and YouTube and Spotify and all the things.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys.
It helps the algorithm.
Yeah. We're really trying to just boost this in the algorithm.
If you have any questions about how to find your why for your business or your brand or your creativity, please let us know in the comments below. Send us DMs, do all that kind of stuff.
Does this resonate? Are you know, can you hear this? What are you getting out of this?
Yeah. What are the questions you want to hear us chat about? Let us know. And
chat with you
in
soon.
the next one.
See
Bye.
you.